Alright, welcome to the Puritan wild ride that is Act 1 of the Crucible. Imagine small-town drama cranked up to 100, with accusations flying faster than hot takes on Twitter. This act sets the stage for all the chaos to come, and trust me, it's messy. We're talking witches, lies, secrets, and one dude who really needs to learn about boundaries. Let's break it down. So, the curtain rises on Reverend Paris's crib in Salem, Massachusetts. The vibe? Stress City. Paris is freaking out because his daughter Betty is passed out cold on her bed. She's not sick, at least not in a call the doc kind of way. Nah, Paris is scared she's been possessed or cursed because he caught her and some other girls dancing in the woods the night before. And when I say dancing, I mean doing some straight-up spooky stuff with Tituba, Paris's enslaved servant. They were out there chanting, tossing herbs, and basically giving off serious Witcher-side quest energy. Paris walked in on this and was like, what in the Hogwarts is going on here? Now Betty's unresponsive, and Paris is panicking because his reputation is on the line. In this town, reputation is everything. Paris is the preacher, but honestly, the guy's PR is already in the gutter because nobody in Salem likes him much. If word gets out that his daughter's dabbling in witchy business, his career is as dead as a one-bar Wi-Fi signal. Enter Abigail Williams, Paris's teenage niece and the original queen of chaos. Abigail was also out in the woods, and she's quick to downplay the whole situation. She's all, relax, uncle, we were just dancing. It was, like, Zumba, but vintage. But Paris isn't buying it. He's heard rumors that Abigail's been causing drama in other ways too, like how she got fired from working for Elizabeth Proctor. Abigail dodges the question like she's in a boss battle, but we later find out she had an affair with Elizabeth's husband, John Proctor. Yep, Abigail's not just a troublemaker, she's a full-on homewrecker. Things heat up when Paris starts questioning Abigail about what really went down in the woods. Abigail tries to gaslight him, but her story doesn't hold much water. Turns out, they weren't just dancing, they were summoning spirits, and Abigail even drank chicken blood as part of some spell to curse Elizabeth Proctor. That's right, she's trying to hex her way into being John Proctor's main squeeze. Talk about desperate. As if the tension isn't already thick enough, enter the town squad, and Thomas Putnam. These two roll up like the neighborhood conspiracy theorists, ready to fan the flames. And Putnam's got her own drama, she's lost 7 babies, and now her only surviving kid, Ruth, is acting all weird too. And is convinced witches are responsible for her family's tragedy, and she's ready to point fingers. Thomas Putnam? He's just here for the drama and low-key trying to use the whole witch craze to grab more land. These two are like that couple who shows up to the party just to start fights. While everyone's arguing, Betty suddenly wakes up, screams, and tries to yeet herself out of the window. The adults freak out, but Abigail is quick to shut Betty down, whispering threats that basically translate to, snitches get stitches. Betty quiets down, but the vibe in the room is fully cursed. Enter John Proctor. Now, this guy walks in like the brooding anti-hero of a CW show. He's a farmer, and he's got this rugged, no-nonsense attitude. Abigail sees him and instantly switches from chaotic teenager to pick-me girl. She's all, John, remember that time we were in love? But Proctor shuts her down, hard. He's like, that was a mistake, and it's over. Abigail's not taking no for an answer, though. She's all, you know you still want me, and Proctor's just trying to get out of there before things get messy, eh? Spoiler, they're already messy. Meanwhile, Paris has called in Reverend Hale, who's basically Salem's top witch detective. This guy rolls up armed with books and a confidence level that screams, I'm about to solve all your problems. Hale's whole thing is finding and fighting witches, so he starts interrogating everyone like he's playing Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. He questions Abigail first, but she spins a web of lies faster than a Twitch streamer dodging a toxic chat. She blames Tituba for everything, claiming the servant forced her to dabble in witchcraft. And poor Tituba. She's sitting there minding her business when suddenly all eyes are on her. Paris and Hale gang up on her, threatening her with a whipping or worse unless she confesses. Tituba knows the deal, she's in a no-win situation. So, she confesses to being a witch and throws out some random names to get the heat off her back. She's like, yeah, there are other witches too. Go check Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne. Yeah, they're totally sus. This kicks off the Salem witch hunt speedrun trademark. Abigail sees how quickly Tituba deflects suspicion and decides to join the party. She starts naming names too, claiming she's seen all kinds of people hanging out with the devil. Betty, who's suddenly all awake and alert, jumps in like she's trying to win a prize for the most accusations. Before you know it, half the town is being accused of witchcraft, and the adults are eating it up like it's the newest TikTok trend. By the end of Act 1, things are officially off the rails. Paris, Hale, and the Putnams are hyped up, ready to go full witch hunt mode, while Abigail and Betty are on a roll, naming names left and right. The vibe in Salem has gone from tense to full-blown paranoia, and you just know this is going to end badly for everyone involved. So, that's Act 1 in a nutshell. We've got witchcraft accusations, small-town grudges, forbidden love, and more lies than a reality TV reunion episode. The characters are messy, the stakes are high, and the drama is just getting started. If this were a game, everyone would have just entered the point of no return cutscene, and there's no way they're coming out of this unscathed. Buckle up, because Salem's about to explode. Alright, let me hit you with the tea about Act 2 of the Crucible. things go from zero to Salem witch hunt real quick, and the tension between characters is so thick you could cut it with a diamond sword. Strap in, because this act is all about marital drama, shady accusations, and some wild Puritan courtroom chaos that makes you wonder if these people ever just chill. So, the scene kicks off in the Proctor house. It's evening, and things are already kinda awkward. John Proctor walks in, and his wife Elizabeth is like, hey, dinner's ready, but you can tell there's a whole vibe of unresolved beef between them. They're trying to act normal, but it's painfully obvious that things are still weird after John's little oopsie affair with Abigail. Elizabeth's like that quiet anime character who's smiling, but you can see the storm brewing behind her eyes. She's civil, but she doesn't trust him as far as she can throw him. And honestly? Fair. John tries to lighten the mood by complimenting her cooking, which is basically the 60s-90s version of saying, this mac and cheese slaps. But Elizabeth's not biting. She's just standing there, emotionally ice-cold, waiting for him to bring up Abigail. Finally, she drops the hint that Abigail and the other girls have been causing drama in Salem with their witch trials. Apparently, Abigail's out here living her best drama queen life, pointing fingers and screaming about witches, and people are actually buying it. She's got the whole town in a frenzy, and Elizabeth's like, bet Abigail's hoping to see me on trial next, huh? John's all defensive, saying, come on, Elizabeth, why do you always bring up Abigail? And she's like, because you slept with her, dude. John tries to act all noble, like he's this reformed man, but Elizabeth isn't letting him off the hook. It's that classic you need to earn my trust energy, and honestly, she's serving. She's practically saying, if you really regret what you did, why haven't you gone to Salem to shut Abigail down? John's excuse is basically, it's complicated, which is Puritan for, I don't want to get involved. At this point, the emotional tension is starting to pop like an overfilled balloon. John admits he was alone with Abigail recently, but swears it wasn't sus. Elizabeth's face is all, seriously? And you can almost hear the sound of her trust in him shattering again. She's like, great, now I have even less faith in you. Maybe she's accusing me of witchcraft to get you all to herself. And John, instead of taking responsibility, goes full defensive mode. He's yelling about how Elizabeth's always judging him and how he can't stand her cold heart. Bro, take the L. Before they can fully unpack all their issues, their servant Mary Warren shows up. Mary's been out in Salem all day, getting swept up in Abigail's chaotic energy. She's practically vibrating with excitement as she spills the tea about the trials. Apparently, the court is eating up every lie the girls are telling. Mary even brags about how she saved Elizabeth's life because someone accused her of witchcraft, but Mary vouched for her. Elizabeth's like, wow, thanks for not letting me get burned at the stake, but inside, you know she's panicking. John's fuming because he knows Abigail's probably the one who threw Elizabeth's name out there, and he's officially over it. John demands that Mary go to court and tell the truth about Abigail and the other girls lying. But Mary's suddenly all timid, like, I can't, they'll kill me. She's clearly been brainwashed by Abigail, who's running this whole witch trial operation like a cult leader. Mary even tells John that Abigail straight up wants Elizabeth dead. At this point, John's furious. He's realizing Abigail isn't just a lovesick teenager, she's a full-blown villain who'll do whatever it takes to get what she wants. It's giving Gasai from Future Diary vibes, and it's terrifying. As if things couldn't get worse, Reverend Hale shows up. Hale's the guy who's supposed to be the expert on witches, but he's kind of useless. He's all, I just want to ask some questions to make sure you're not witches, and you can tell he's trying to play it cool. He quizzes the Proctors on their church attendance and whether they know their commandments, which is such a random pop quiz. John, being John, flunks it by forgetting the commandment about adultery. The irony is so thick it's practically suffocating. Elizabeth tries to cover for him, but it's obvious Hale's a little sus. Then, the drama hits full throttle. Giles, Corey, and Francis Nurse burst into the Proctor house, looking like they just rage quit a game after getting hacked. They're freaking out because their wives have been arrested for witchcraft. Apparently, Martha Corey and Rebecca Nurse, two of the most respectable people in town, got dragged into this mess because someone accused them of being witches. Francis is like, if Rebecca can get accused, none of us are safe. And Giles is ready to throw hands with the whole court system. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, the cops roll in to arrest Elizabeth. Yep, Abigail's master plan is officially in motion. The evidence? A doll Mary Warren brought home that has a needle stuck in it, which Abigail claims is voodoo magic. Abigail pulled the old stab yourself and blame someone else trick, and everyone's buying it. Elizabeth's trying to keep her cool, but you can see the panic in her eyes. John's absolutely losing it, yelling that Abigail is a liar and the court is full of clowns. He's ready to storm into Salem and burn Abigail's whole fake witch empire to the ground. Elizabeth gets dragged off anyway, and John's left standing there, furious and helpless. He turns to Mary Warren and basically says, you're going to court tomorrow, and you're telling them the truth about Abigail. Mary's crying, saying she can't go up against Abigail because she'll destroy her. John, who's finally hitting his breaking point, grabs her and yells, you'll do it, or I'll make you. It's a total cliffhanger moment, and you can tell the next act is about to be pure chaos. So, to sum it up, Act 2 is where everything starts spiraling out of control. John and Elizabeth's relationship is hanging by a thread, Abigail's turning the town into her personal puppet show, and the whole witch trial situation is one big dumpster fire. It's intense, it's messy, and it's a masterclass in how lies and paranoia can tear a community apart. The Proctors are in deep trouble, and it's all leading to a showdown that's bound to be explosive. If you thought things were bad now, just wait. The real drama's just getting started. Alright, y'all, welcome to Act 3 of The Crucible, where Salem hits peak courtroom drama. Imagine a mix of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, a reality show reunion, and an influencer scandal where everyone's receipts are fake. It's messy, it's intense, and nobody in this town has chill. Get ready, because things are about to go from bad to OMG, this is a total disaster. So, we're in the Salem courthouse, aka the center of the drama. The vibe? Tense. The stakes? Through the roof. Judge Danforth, who's running the show, is the type of guy who thinks he's super wise but actually just loves the sound of his own voice. He's all about justice, or at least his idea of it, but spoiler alert, it's a train wreck. Giles Corey, our resident grumpy old man with a heart of gold, kicks things off. He bursts in with some tea about Thomas Putnam. Giles claims Putnam is accusing people of witchcraft just so he can snatch up their land when they're jailed. It's a big accusation, and if it were true, it would expose the whole witch trial circus as a scam. But Danforth isn't having it. He's like, do you have proof? Giles gets tongue-tied because he doesn't want to name his source, he promised to keep it anonymous. Danforth's like, no name, no game. Dismissed. Poor Giles. He's trying to be the hero, but Salem's legal system is about as fair as the loot drop rate in Genshin Impact. Meanwhile, John Proctor shows up with his secret weapon, Mary Warren. If you don't remember Mary, she's the human equivalent of a laggy teammate in a co-op game, sometimes helpful, but mostly a liability. Mary was one of Abigail's squad who got caught up in the whole witches are real frenzy. Now she's ready to spill the beans and tell the court the truth, that the girls have been faking it the whole time. Proctor's banking on this testimony to save his wife, Elizabeth, who's been accused of witchcraft. He's like, Mary, just tell the truth, and we can end this madness. Mary's nervous, but she agrees. They roll into court, and Danforth is immediately sus of Proctor. Abigail has everyone wrapped around her finger, so accusing her of lying is like trying to convince your teacher you didn't cheat on a group project even though everyone else already turned on you. Proctor hands over a petition signed by a bunch of townspeople vouching for the accused women's innocence. Danforth, instead of being like, oh, good evidence, starts calling all the signers in for questioning. Proctor's thinking, this isn't how this works. But Danforth's running the show, and he's running it badly. Then it's Mary's turn to testify. She's shaking like a leaf, but she manages to tell the court, hey, so, we were all faking the whole witchcraft thing. It's not real. Abigail's just extra. Danforth raises an eyebrow and looks over at Abigail. Now, Abigail doesn't like being called out, so she flips the switch into full-blown villain mode. She's like, how dare you accuse me of lying? Do you want the spirits to come for you too? Abigail's performance is so over the top it's giving main anime antagonist. She even starts doing her spooky I see spirits routine again, pointing at the ceiling and shrieking about how Mary's spirit is attacking her. Mary, who was barely holding it together before, absolutely loses her cool now. She's like a support character in a boss battle, suddenly realizing she's in way over her head. Abigail keeps up her act, and the other girls join in, pretending to see Mary's spirit flying around like it's some kind of spectral Pokemon. The court? Totally buying it. Danforth looks at Mary and goes, care to explain why you're terrorizing Abigail with your ghostly powers? Proctor, realizing this is spiraling out of control, decides to go nuclear. He's like, alright, I didn't want to do this, but Abigail and I had an affair. The courtroom goes silent. Proctor's all, yeah, that's right. Abigail is obsessed with me, and that's why she wants my wife dead. She's jealous. Abigail's face in this moment? Pure oh no, he didn't. She tries to play it cool, but the damage is done. Danforth, who's finally starting to consider that Abigail might not be Salem's golden child, decides to bring Elizabeth Proctor in to confirm the story. Proctor's thinking, this is perfect. Elizabeth never lies. They bring her in, but here's the catch, Elizabeth doesn't know John already confessed. When Danforth asks if John had an affair with Abigail, Elizabeth hesitates and then says, no, he didn't. She's trying to protect John's reputation, but instead, she just wrecked his whole plan. As soon as she's taken out of the room, John's like, are you kidding me? It's a total facepalm moment. Now that Proctor's credibility is shot, Abigail doubles down. She and the other girls start screaming about how Mary's spirit is attacking them again. It's absolute chaos. Mary, realizing that the entire court has turned against her, does a complete 180. She panics and accuses Proctor of being in league with the devil. Proctor's jaw hits the floor as Mary points at him and screams, he made me sign the devil's book. Danforth, who clearly left his common sense at home, believes her. Proctor's officially in hot water now, and there's no getting out. The act ends with Proctor losing it. He's dragged off to jail, screaming that the court is corrupt and that Danforth and the others are the real sinners. Abigail stands there looking smug, like the final boss who just wiped your whole party. The court is in shambles, Salem's paranoia is at an all-time high, and you just know Act 4 is going to be an emotional roller coaster. So yeah, Act 3 is wild. It's got everything, betrayal, fake friends, lies on lies, and a justice system that's a total fail. Proctor tries to be the hero, but it all blows up in his face, thanks to Elizabeth's attempt to protect him and Mary's last-minute backstab. Abigail proves she's the queen of manipulation, and Danforth shows he's more interested in maintaining his authority than actually figuring out the truth. It's a hot mess, and Salem is officially off the deep end. Alright, let's wrap up this wild ride of paranoia, drama, and questionable choices in Act 4 of The Crucible. By this point, Salem is officially that friend group that started beef over something small, and now everyone's ready to delete each other on social media. It's dark, messy, and everybody's lives are falling apart faster than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. So, Act 4 opens in a jail, and the vibes are straight up depressing. It's like the aftermath of a losing boss fight where everyone's just sitting around, licking their wounds. The guards, led by this shady dude named Herrick, are dragging in Sarah Good and Tituba, who are so out of it they're practically NPCs at this point. These two have been locked up so long they're completely delusional. They're talking about being taken to Barbados by the devil, and honestly, you can't blame them for losing it. Salem's gone full horror movie, and they're over it. Meanwhile, Danforth and Hathorn, the judges in this circus, are doing damage control. These guys are like that stubborn gamer who refuses to admit their strategy sucks, even when it's clearly not working. They've sentenced so many people to hang that the town's starting to turn against them. Reverend Paris shows up, and wow, he's a mess. Like, dude's got big I haven't slept in weeks because my plans are falling apart energy. Turns out, Abigail and Mercy Lewis pulled the ultimate anime betrayal and dipped out of Salem. They straight up stole Paris's money and ran away, leaving him broke and freaking out. Paris is practically crying, begging the court to call off the executions because he knows the townspeople are about to riot. He's like, guys, maybe we should pump the brakes before someone torches my house. But Danforth? Oh no, this guy's still on his justice must prevail soapbox. He refuses to admit that the trials were a bad idea. He's convinced that if they backpedal now, it'll make them look weak. It's giving villain who doubles down on a bad plan just because they're too prideful to change their mind vibes. Hathorn's backing him up like a loyal henchman, and they both decide the hangings are still happening. Paris keeps trying to convince them, but Danforth's like, nah, we're too deep in this now. Reverend Hale rolls back into town, and boy, is he not the same guy from Act 1. Gone is the confident witch hunter, now he's just a broken dude who realizes he majorly screwed up. He's practically begging people to confess to witchcraft, not because he believes in it anymore, but because it'll save their lives. Hale's like, yeah, lying is technically a sin, but so is hanging innocent people, so, choose your poison. He's out here trying to convince anyone who'll listen that survival is more important than pride. You can tell the guy's racked with guilt, and honestly, it's a sad look for him. Then we get to the Proctors, and boy, this is where things get real. John Proctor's been locked up for months, and he's not looking too hot. They bring in Elizabeth to talk to him, hoping she can convince him to confess to witchcraft. And this reunion? It's like the final act of a tragic love story. Elizabeth's pregnant now, which is both good news, because she won't get hanged right away, and bad news, because her husband might not be around to see the baby. She and John have this heart-to-heart that's so raw it feels like you're intruding just by listening. John's torn. On one hand, he doesn't want to die. On the other, he knows confessing means throwing away his integrity and admitting to a lie. It's like he's stuck in one of those moral dilemma video games where both choices suck, and you're sitting there staring at the screen, unable to decide. Elizabeth, in a total character development moment, tells him it's his choice. She's not going to judge him either way. She even admits that she's been cold to him in the past and partially blames herself for pushing him towards Abigail. It's a heartbreaking moment, and you can see how much these two still love each other despite everything. John decides to confess. At first, it seems like he's finally found a way to survive without completely sacrificing his soul. But then Danforth and Hathorn start piling on the demands. They want him to name other people involved in witchcraft, and John's like, absolutely not. Then they ask him to sign his confession so they can use it as propaganda, and that's where he draws the line. He's like, you can have my words, but you're not taking my name. He knows that signing the confession will tarnish his reputation forever, and for John, his name is all he has left. He's willing to admit to a lie if it means saving his life, but he's not about to let them turn him into their poster boy. In the end, John chooses death over living with a lie that'll haunt him forever. It's a brutal decision, but you can tell he's made peace with it. He tears up his confession, and the court loses its collective mind. Danforth and Hathorn are like, what do you mean you'd rather die? And you can see the panic setting in. John walks off to the gallows with his head held high, finally reclaiming his sense of honor. Elizabeth watches him go, heartbroken but proud. She doesn't try to stop him because she knows this is his way of finding redemption. And that's how it ends. John Proctor dies, Abigail's out there somewhere living her best fugitive life, and Salem is left to deal with the fallout of its own paranoia. It's a heavy ending, no doubt, but it drives home the point that truth and integrity can be more important than survival. The whole town got so caught up in their fear and hatred that they destroyed themselves, and John's death is like the ultimate mic drop on their hypocrisy. In the end, Act 4 is a gut punch of a conclusion. It's tragic, powerful, and full of those what would you do in this situation? Moments that leave you thinking long after the final curtain drops. Sure, it's dark, but it's also a reminder that standing up for what's right, even when it costs everything, is sometimes the only way to truly live.